Hello everyone, it's James from DivyneCrochet. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be giving you a tutorial on how to do this patchwork filet crochet jumper. So I decided to make the jumper by sewing together and tying together the corners of my panels. But obviously you're more than welcome to make this jumper but either crochet together the sides or you can just sew together the sides. I think just attaching the panels at the corner kind of adds an extra detail, which I think is really interesting to look at, but I understand that this is definitely not everyone's personal preference when it comes to, you know, their taste in fashion and stuff. So I have 24 small panels that I need to make, and I've got 2 big panels that I need to make. I will show you the pattern that I used for both of them, as well as how I made them, and then I'll show you guys how I constructed the garment.
The materials that I'm going to use to make this jumper is around 225 grams of this 4-ply cotton yarn in this cream colour, a 3mm hook and a pair of scissors. And if you want to sew together any of your panels or you want to sew in any of your ends, you'll need a darning needle. However, in this project I didn't end up using one. For today's jumper, I'm making it a size medium. If you want to change the size of this jumper, what I would do is I would find a garment that fits you in the way that you want this jumper to fit you, whether that's a crochet garment or just a normal piece of clothing, and then you can lay your panels on top of this to gauge what size your jumper is going to be. Now, to customize the fit, you can either change the size of the panels, you can change the arrangement of the panels, or you can follow along with this tutorial and make up or take away any of the dimensions that you don't like with panels of mesh stitch. With this jumper, I would say making it bit by bit and kind of laying it on, you know, either the ground or a flat surface just to see where you're going is going to be the best way to approach it. First off, I'm going to show you how I make the big panel of filet crochet. So I'm going to start off with a slip knot, and I'm going to chain the length of the bottom of the panel that I want to make. So you can see that there's 25 squares across the bottom of the pixel grid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 51 before worrying about doing any turning chains. So I do this because every one of the pixels will need 1 double crochet and 1 chain stitch, and then to end off those 25 pixels I'll need an extra double crochet. So once I get to that 51st stitch, I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to chain an extra one, and this is going to count as a double crochet and a chain stitch. So going back from that 51st stitch to the 50th and the 49th, I'm going to go into that 49th with a double crochet. So you can see I struggle with the start of kind of doing smaller projects for some reason, especially because I'm working with a 3mm hook. Starting off this kind of project can be quite fiddly, but once you get a little bit of work to kind of grip onto, it does get a lot easier. After doing that double crochet, you want to chain 1 stitch, skip a stitch in the chain row, and insert your hook to do that double crochet. And you're just going to repeat this pattern all the way down your chain row. So you're going to chain a stitch, skip a stitch in the chain row, and then insert your hook into the next one to do a double crochet. In this project, on the second row of every panel, I'm going to crochet into the back loop of the chain stitch. However, if you want to crochet into the back bump, this is completely fine. This won't change how the project looks in the end or how it gets put together. If you've counted all of this correctly, your final double crochet should be into the first chain that you made, and you should have 25 holes in your garment. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 3 stitches, and we're going to turn our work, and this is going to be how we start our next row. So because I'm making this big panel, I'm going to start off this panel with quite a few rows of just this stitch of doing a double crochet, a chain 1 and a skip 1. The only difference for these rows is obviously we're going to be putting our double crochet into the top of the double crochet in the row below rather than into the chain stitch. And for these rows, make sure your final double crochet goes into the second chain that you made at the start of the row before. So I'm going to do 6 rows of these mesh stitches before introducing the pattern on my 7th row. And to make sure this pattern starts in the middle, I'm going to count 12 mesh stitches across to make sure the middle is in that 13th hole. So to start off the graphic, what we're going to do is we're going to put a double crochet into that chain stitch, and then we're going to repeat the pattern of doing a double crochet and chaining one. So you can see in this pattern, every colored square basically indicates where we want to do a double crochet instead of a chain stitch. So you should not be increasing or decreasing the amount of stitches you have in each row. You're just alternating whether you're using a chain stitch or a double crochet in every other stitch in the middle of your panel. Once you've finished the pattern of your cross, you want to add 5 more rows of mesh stitches before completing your panel. So, as I said earlier, you can change the size of this garment by changing the size of the panel. However, if you're going to be using these graphics, what I would recommend is that you still keep at least 1 stitch around your panel just left bare, so all the stitches around the border of your panel should just be mesh stitches. This will make sure that your image of the cross is going to be quite clear to see. So we're going to do our final double crochet in our 5th row above the graphic. Then we're going to cut our yarn, and bear in mind that you're going to use this to either tie together your work or sew in your work depending on what you want. And for the small cross, it's going to be the same, but we're going to crochet a total of 31 chains before adding those 3 turning chains and going into the 29th stitch. Then we're going to do 1 row of plain mesh stitch before introducing the 15 rows of the graphic of the cross, and then we're going to add an extra mesh stitch on top, and that's going to be how we create these panels.
In total, I have 24 of the small panels, and I've got 2 of the bigger panels that I'm going to use for the front and the back. And this is my plan at the moment as to how I'm going to attach the garment, the placement of the squares. And I'm going to plan to just attach the squares at the corners. I'm going to watch some Real Housewives of Atlanta, and I've made myself a little coffee. Which is really ironic that I've done this at this point, because this is probably going to be the easiest part of the crochet project, but I guess maybe that's why I want to, you know, luxuriate. This is what I'm working with at the moment. What I'll note is this collar is going to be quite big. Also with this panel, I'm going to count up the sides to attach these ends. So this is 17 rows of double crochet, so I will attach this at the top of the 17th row of this one, and then at the top of this one, because this is 17 and 17, on the 34th, is that math right? Yeah, on the 34th, on the top of the 34th row of double crochet, that's where I'll attach this, and then I'll do the same so it's all kind of lining up equally. So it's also important to note that I made sure all the crosses would be facing the right way once the garment's all sewn together. So I've attached all the squares together to make one big panel. My plan is now I'm going to get this side and fold it over. Now my final step is going to be to attach down here and then up here as well. Also, what I want to do is I want to add some trimming around the neck, just because this neck, while I want it to be loose, I don't want it to be this loose. So I've added the collar, which just consists of single and double crochets just done all the way around in a loop. So I'm about done with it. This is how it ended up, and I am really happy with it, I'm not gonna lie. As I said, if you want to, you can just sew all these together, because I know this isn't everyone's style, but I don't know, I think it's gonna be really cute for summer. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you learned something. This jumper definitely took me quite a while to make. It was quite a big project, but it's definitely worth it. Like, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I'm also going to leave some links to my Instagram, my TikTok, and my Etsy below. I'm going to leave it there. Hope you guys have a good day, and I'll see you later. Bye.